Neal Battaglia, saxstation.com. So I was listening to a recording of one of my private students in Saxophone Tribe the other day, and he was working on St. James Infirmary. And one of the problems that students often have with this song is getting the upbeats correct and landing correctly in the right places. This student actually did that fine. They came in, they held the quarter note at the beginning for the right amount of time. They came in on what seemed like an upbeat. Everything kind of lined up until they got to the half note. And the half note, they played too short. Basically, a half note is twice as long as a quarter note. A half note is half as long as a whole note. A whole note is 4 beats in 4/4 time. A half note is 2 beats in 4/4 time. A quarter note is 1 beat in 4/4 time. So I put together a short exercise which has half notes, whole notes, and quarter notes. Each of them is a factor of 2 different than the one next to it. So the whole note is 4 beats, the half note is 2 beats, the quarter note is 1 beat. The whole note is twice as long as the half note is twice as long as the quarter note is half as long as the half note is half as long as the whole note. So I made this exercise which has different combinations of whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. And I'm playing at 70 beats per minute, which is a fairly slow tempo. You can see me counting the subdivisions of the beat. There's subdivisions when you're playing a note that's longer than what the subdivisions are. If you're playing quarter notes and you're thinking in 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not exactly a subdivision, that's on each note. A subdivision is more like you're holding a note longer. So for holding a whole note, you can think about it as 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes within the whole note. So subdividing by counting these individual beats can help you keep track of the time better than you might if you just kind of felt it or guessed it. And at the same time, if you're pretty experienced, it's not like you always need to subdivide, but it can be pretty useful and it can get you to the point where you don't need to think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was hearing about this the other day. It's like there's 4 stages. This is from Anthony Wellington. He said there's unconscious unknowing, there's conscious unknowing, there's conscious knowing, and then there's unconscious knowing. The first stage is you're playing not very well and you're not aware of it. After that, you can maybe get to the point where you're aware that you're not playing very well. Then later, you can start to play better, you can start to play well, but you're thinking about it. And then eventually you get to the place where you're playing well and you're not thinking about it. It's automatic. It becomes something you don't have to think about at all. So you kind of want to get eventually to that one place with unconscious knowing. But most of the time we start off in unconscious unknowing. We play not very well and we're not really aware of what's going on. We don't really know how to fix it. Getting feedback from a teacher is usually a big help in this process. You can find out things that you're not aware of because they're going to hear things in a different way and notice things that maybe you can't at this point if you're just starting off playing. Or even if you've been playing a while, there might be something that you're just used to and it became a habit. So, yeah, check out this exercise, play along with it, think about the relationship of the lengths of the notes, and before getting into upbeats and downbeats and all that, and more divisions into threes and different things that you can do in music, it's good to get half notes, whole notes, and quarter notes so they're pretty firm. You can work with a metronome, and then you can use that subdivision that can help you with the whole notes and the half notes. The quarter notes are just going to be directly on the divisions of the metronome in 4/4 time. So try this out. I would say before getting back into St. James, I would say this is a good exercise to work on. It's going to help you get that half note to be a full 2 beats rather than playing more like it sounded like 1 beat. And then if you're going to play a whole note, you want to play that long enough too. At a slow tempo, it sometimes feels like a whole note is really long or a half note is pretty long. But it kind of doesn't matter whether it feels long or not. If that's how the music goes, you want to play it as it should be. Otherwise, you're going to rush or maybe you're going to hold it too long. That can be another problem. But you basically want to come in the right place. If you hold a note too long, you're going to come in late. If you hold it too short, you're going to come in early. You don't want to do either of those two things. You want to have accurate time and be more kind of like a drummer. Like Bob Reynolds was saying this the other day, is saying you don't expect a drummer to kind of just play without a sense of time. But saxophone players sometimes do when they're practicing. So you might want to practice more often with the metronome. You might want to get an app like Drum Genius. That can be good to play along with. But getting a better sense of time, really feeling the time, feeling the bass, is going to make you a better musician. So try this exercise out. If you want to get help from me, I can probably hear some things you can't hear if you're starting to play or even been playing a few years. I've been playing for a little while. You can check out Saxophone Tribe if you want to get feedback on your recordings and your playing from me.